Hello, and welcome. I'm so excited to have you here for this edition of our skill building series to help you scale your business without the burnout. I am so excited that we're going to dive into this particular soft skill development topic today, all about pacing our workday because this is definitely one of the areas that I have fallen down in the past. And if you are anything like me and my clients and my community of real estate agents and brokers and investors and coaches and all those wonderful vendors that make it all possible, like transaction coordinators, of course, well, then you're going to love today's skill building mini workshop because we're going to be digging into what seems like something maybe a little mundane, but the reality is there's so much more impact on your overall workday and productivity then you realize when it comes down to pacing your workday, it all really adds up. So make sure if you haven't already that you head on over and download your Pace Your Workday to Prevent Burnout action plan. It should be in the notes down below for you. If for some reason you can't see it, just drop me a comment and I'll make sure that you get your link because you're going to love this beautiful workbook from our skill building series. And if you do love today's mini workshop and the workbook that comes along with it, then you're going to love them all because they all together weave what I believe is going to be the most essential and most relied upon tools in your toolbox as you scale your service based business without burning out. This is about ditching hustle culture. This is about kicking the bro marketer hustle culture to the curb. We're done with it. This is where we get really intentional about who we are, who we serve, what we do, and why. And we just get rid of the rest so that we can actually enjoy our lives and I don't know, maybe rest without guilt? God forbid, right? So if that sounds good, you're in the right place, okay? Don't go anywhere. And you are also in the right place if you, like me, find yourself often pushing yourself a little too hard and have burnt out more than once in the past. I probably can't even count how many times I burned out over the years before I learned how to do this. So there's no shame in any of this. It's totally normal when you are a driven entrepreneur or solopreneur to get sucked into cycles of burnout. You're also in the right place if you find it difficult for yourself to take breaks, and maybe you find yourself slowly losing focus over time, or maybe you haven't even caught on to that yet, but you're in the right place to find those patterns, okay? You're also in the right place right now. If you feel guilty resting and that later causes you to overwork. So if you take around a Wednesday afternoon and curl up in front of Netflix and just totally veg out because you need the rest, and then you spend the whole time beating the crap out of yourself internally for taking that rest. Oof, not only can I relate to you, but I'm really glad that you're here because I want to alleviate all that guilt and shame you put yourself through, not to mention the overworking. And then also, if you've ever experienced a bit of a challenge in setting your limits in terms of your workload, I definitely want you to pay attention and make sure you do grab that workbook so that we can help you gain a little bit more perspective today and moving forward, okay? And let's talk about for a moment why we dig into topics like this. Like, before we really roll up our sleeves, why are we doing this? Well, it's that pacing your workday is actually really important as a service provider, specifically as a service provider, right? because pacing helps us to prevent exhaustion, mental fatigue, and that lack of motivation that I promise does come. When you work too hard, too long of a time, you're not taking breaks, your focus will decline, your productivity will drop, your effectiveness will be lessened, and your overall output will become more and more disappointing and frustrating to you. Okay. So let's design your ideal workday pace together today, right? In just three transformational steps. That's what we're going to do with your workbook. We're going to identify your energy patterns, reflect on the existing behavioral patterns, and determine the best work pacing strategy for you. But before we do, let's just take a little memento and talk about what makes me qualified to even hang out with you today in this workshop and help you to streamline your workday. Well, I've spent over a decade in this business working with real estate companies like yours to scale their real estate content and to monetize their expertise through a variety of digital offers, which I developed, branded, marketed, all that for them. I've also written and optimized thousands of real estate articles without any help or AI from AI. And I've done this for hundreds of clients across the US, Canada, Australia, and South America. I've been a star contributor for Inman News and other industry publications such as Real Producers Seattle as I developed my career in real estate. And I spent 5 years studying Jungian behavioral psychology and the impacts of human behaviors and mindsets on businesses as they scale. This was what I spent my last 5 years really focusing on, was all of these stories we tell ourselves, the limiting beliefs that we create, how it impacts our behavioral patterns, and what are these blind spots that you and I might have as service providers that gets in our way of scaling, especially when we're established, we're in demand, we have a great business, but then we hit this plateau, this wall, and we just sort of like dieting sometimes, you just kind of hit this plateau and you can drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what system or what business thing or whatever it is that you need to buy or fix or implement. But the reality is that if you, the operator, you, the solopreneur, you, the head of this business, has things, if you have things going on in your mindset that are going to hinder you, or limiting beliefs or stories running in your subconscious about you and your ability to run this business, or in this particular case, how hard you're supposed to be working, that is what's really going to hold you back. So let's ditch the shiny shit syndrome, as I call it, or shiny object syndrome, and let's dig in to these soft skills that are going to save us so much time and energy as we scale, uh, because it's going to allow us to realize we don't need all of these extra fancy tools and things. We maybe don't need to outsource as much as we thought. There's so much that we can really start to see once we dig into ourselves and what we might be doing on an unconscious level to hold ourselves back. So let's dig in and start identifying your energy patterns. I want you to think for a moment about how your energy changes throughout the day. When do you feel most productive? I know for myself, I have always been a morning girly. Like, it doesn't matter if it's 1 a.m. or 6 a.m. I'm happy to just jump out of bed, and I'm super sunny and chatty, much to my husband's delight. And I'm just ready to hit the ground running first thing in the morning. I love it, okay? But I know that's not probably most people. Maybe you do better in the afternoon and find your focus after lunch, when I am a complete vegetable, basically. Or maybe for you, the evenings are more productive. And it's also possible, especially if you are a woman, for these energy levels to vary. And I say that it's especially as a woman because our cycles actually determine our energy levels. And this is going to sound woo. Look it up. I promise you, it is rooted in pure scientific fact. But as women, our energy and our cycles can also vary based off of what's going on with the lunar phase. So, all of those things can play a really big role in your energy levels throughout the day, week, month, what have you. And I think it's really important as women that we recognize that, guess what? Today's clock and calendar system were invented by Julius Caesar completely arbitrarily, and we still follow it today. He had no scientific basis for doing that. This is another fun fact, which you can look up. And he did it completely arbitrarily to try to regain control over Rome after he had been hanging out with Cleopatra in Egypt for a little bit too long. Okay. So essentially, he comes back from Egypt one day, finds Rome in total chaos after being gone for like, I don't know, years, right? I think it was like a decade or something crazy. And his first order of business is, I know what I'll do. I'll make up a new clock and calendar system that everybody has to follow and regain control. And we still follow it today. But as women in particular, our bodies don't care what Julius Caesar thinks Monday is or Wednesday is. Our bodies care far more about what is going on, literally with the lunar phase and what's going on with our internal cycles, and that's where our energy comes from. So it's really important that you take the time to dig into and document how your energy levels vary throughout the days, weeks, and month overall as a woman, so that you can start to identify, hey, uh, you know, during this particular week, I'm really productive, but this week I don't feel like doing anything. And you can restructure your entire work schedule to fit your needs. This is your permission slip. And this is me telling you, you will scale faster, better, stronger by investing in creating a schedule that revolves around your natural energy patterns. And if you want to learn more about that specifically as a woman, make sure that you check out my Wildly Creative channel. Let me see if I can pull that up for you, actually. And I'll be sure to drop this in the notes because I do have one video that I created for this maybe a year or two now specifically. It's been a hot minute. Let me see if I can find this video for you. I'm so silly. Okay. That's what it's called. Finding your flow. The power of syncing your menstrual cycle to the moon. This is going to completely change the way this, like, your entire schedule runs and how you feel throughout the days, weeks, and months, and in regards to your productivity too. It's really going to transform everything for you. So if you haven't, please go check out the Finding Your Flow video on my Wildly Creative TV channel. Okay, so let's see, let's keep it moving and let's continue to work on developing your work pacing strategies. So how can you structure your work to match your energy levels? We need to take as much guesswork out of this, I think, as possible, while also leaving room and permission for some flexibility. I don't know about you. I'm the kind of girly who, like, don't give me a morning routine, for example, that I have to follow every single day from now to the end of time. I will lose my mind. I get bored, okay? But I love a morning quote unquote routine and an evening quote unquote routine. The thing is, I just like to switch up what that routine looks like. Or what I usually say is I like to change up the rituals of the routine. Okay, so the routine might be there that I do self-care every morning before starting my day, but those self-care activities might rotate or change out. And I want to encourage you to leave yourself a little bit of room for that flexibility, that routines do not need to be so intensely pressurized. Because what happens is when we inevitably have a day that breaks, similarly to working out and going to the gym, we create a whole new narrative in our heads based around perfectionism that, like, oh, we missed a day, now it's ruined, we can't go back. That's why a lot of people struggle with things like the what is it, like 75 hard or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. Those are all those different like marketing workout like gimmicks that are based on a certain number of days or if you don't know, most people actually quit any one of those things on day 19. Like there's a lot of stats behind that behavior and the stories. And what we have found in science and behavioral studies is that something about we as humans, we silly humans, after we do have that one little interruption in a perfect streak, it more often than not results in us throwing out the whole progress, the whole new habit, like the whole thing, baby with the bathwater, because we are so pained by the one little break in that streak. But the top performers and achievers in our society are the ones that forgive themselves for that and then pick up the next day or the next day or whatever it is and keep going. And for me, I find that keeping this flexibility in the rituals and the routines allows for that a little better. So let's talk about taking breaks and rest without guilt, which I find have been two of the most common struggles with work pacing. Okay. So let's talk about breaks first. A lot of people like to use a timer, or they make these really cute little like lights that you can get on Amazon for nothing. And they make them, I think there's like one that's really popular that's like a little toaster with a smile on it. But anyway, these lights are essentially set to timers. So you turn it on uh, in your workspace, and then it'll turn off when it's time for you to take a break. So these little visual cues or timers can be really helpful at planning breaks, or using Pomodoros, which is my favorite technique, can also be really helpful. So if you're unfamiliar with Pomodoros, these are really fun and easy to follow along with. You can simply go on YouTube yet again and just type in Pomodoro. There's so many channels on YouTube that are literally nothing but Pomodoros and productivity. And essentially, all it's going to do is set a timer for you to work, say, for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. Work deep work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. And those videos will be backed usually with lo-fi music that is designed to help you focus even further. So you can really train your brain to kind of listen for those breaks and bells, and you will be stunned at how much more effective and productive you can be following Pomodoros versus just sitting down and working 3 hours straight. Okay? So definitely encourage you to give it a shot if you haven't already. And other people find that like shaking things up and kind of getting up and moving different locations, maybe a different room, maybe just a whole different setting, go outside, whatever it might be. A lot of people find that that is one of the most, if not the most effective way for them to take a break, decompress, get some breaths in, and kind of come back to their work a little more refreshed and focused. But I want to hear from you. If you have another method that reminds you to take breaks that I did not just talk about, please, please, please share with the whole class and drop some comments. Let me know what it is that you do in order to remind yourself to take breaks and how that's impacted your overall work and focus and burnout prevention and all that good stuff. I would love to hear from you. And I know everyone watching would love to hear your tips and tricks too. It's not just about me. I want to hear from you. Okay. So now let's talk about probably what was my biggest challenge and one of the biggest things that led to me constantly burning out. And that is the fact that I used to give myself, and totally admit, still have these days where I give myself such a guilt trip for taking a break or rest or like a whole weekend to just veg out. Do you ever find yourself doing that? Do you ever find yourself like forcing yourself to take a break, but then the whole time you're on this break, you're like, well, I could be doing this, or I should have been doing that, or like next thing you know, you're just like brainstorming your next piece of content or what, like you're just going back and back and back to work in your head because you feel guilty that you're taking this time for you. Well, you're not alone. And you didn't have to grow up in New York like me to grow up with the mindset that your work establishes your worth. And if you're not working, you're worthless. That is the ethos of American culture, essentially. And that is what a lot of the entire United States has really been built on. Thank you, Industrial Revolution, right? Is that mindset. But that mindset is completely false and damaging and will not help you scale. So, I really want you to understand that your relationship with your work and the guilt that you may carry around working and resting is not something that we're going to wave a magic wand and fix overnight today. This is going to probably require a little bit more ongoing and deeper work to understand what are these stories that I tell myself about my worth, about my work ethic, about rest, and all of that. And that's why I wanted to arm you with this little workbook and journal that comes with the exercise we're doing today, because I really want you to take a non-judgmental look at yourself and how your relationship with guilt and rest and work has evolved to maybe control your own behaviors and thoughts in some way. And this is not about judging yourself, it's simply about observing. And then from that place of observation and clarity, we can begin to take healthy steps forward into a new future, new story, new identity that better serves you and the people that you are trying to help and serve and impact. Okay? So, this is going to, again, take some time, but what's it going to look like? It's going to look like reframing breaks as recharging time, right? Like if you think of yourself as a battery, for example, or like your phone, like you have to recharge. You cannot run from zero all the time. You can't pour from the empty cup, right? And it's important that this is why we set some clear work hours and boundaries around them. And I know that that is especially challenging in real estate, especially if you're an agent or a broker still working in transactions. It can be very difficult to not just set, but in particularly like really reinforce those limits. But I promise you, the more respect that you give to following these limits and these clear work hours that you set for yourself, the more respect you will walk away with for yourself, the more respect your clients are going to have for you, and the more peace you're going to have in your overall life. It's really important. I promise you, you don't want to get to a place where you get so burnt out by your business that you wake up one day and burn the whole thing to the ground. Believe it or not, it's way more common than you think. Okay? Just as easy as it is to wake up one day and quit your corporate job and stick the finger to your boss and storm out, believe me, this business that's your baby or your boyfriend or whatever, you'll burn it to the ground. You will drop kick this thing, okay? So I don't want to see you do that. I don't want you to get to that point. So please, let's set some clear work hours and boundaries, communicate them clearly and regularly with clients, and then reinforce them. They won't hate you, they won't leave you, they will respect you more. And I also want to remind you to, from a non-judgmental place, do your best to document how much more efficient you are when you're working rested versus tired or unrested, okay? Because I think this will be some of the most impactful evidence for you to collect for yourself that will really help you to see, like, okay, it doesn't make any sense to keep like pushing myself this far and this hard when I'm not producing better work. Like I'm putting out crap basically and just making myself more tired, right? So it's so much better to be proactive about your health and your rest and your clarity and cognition. Your clarity and cognition and your ability to make good decisions as a leader, operator, owner, you know, real estate agent, whatever it is that you want to identify yourself as, it depends completely on your rest. Completely. That's just being a human. Okay? So forgive yourself for being a human. Do your best to document how much more efficient you are working versus rested over the next week to a month. Okay? And you will have an undeniable like set or book of evidence that it's better for you to take the time for you than it is to keep pushing yourself. Okay, I promise. And I want you to, over these coming days, weeks, maybe even months, continue to reflect about how you can balance working hard or smart, really. It takes both, let's be honest, and taking care of your energy levels. If your business has been built around you and what you provide and yourself as a service provider and all of this stuff, then when you go down, so does the business. So, in a sense, if you have built your business around yourself as the greatest asset in your business, you can't afford to keep treating yourself like crap. You have to prioritize self-care and protecting your energy. So tell me what your questions are. I'm dying to know. Just drop them in the comments. I would love to hear from you about what you experience throughout your work days, the different techniques we discussed. Maybe you have some more questions about syncing your cycle and your energy levels to the moon, like whatever it might be, all of which has been based in science, I remind you. Please drop your comments below. I would love to answer them for you. And make sure again that you have downloaded the handy dandy mini workbook I created for you to help pace your workday to prevent burnout. This is your essential action plan. Okay? Thank you so much for watching today. Make sure you hit that subscribe, like, and notification button, and I will see you for our next video in our skill building series.